Hello, my name is Molly Wolf, and today I will be discussing Ever After, a Cinderella story directed by Andy Tennant in 1998. Ever After is a variation on the popular tale Cinderella, which is typically categorized as ATU Type 510A. There are many traditional motifs from the story of Cinderella, such as there's typically a helper, whether it be the spirit of Cinderella's mother, a fairy godmother, such as in the Disney stories, or even in Ever After, for example, Leonardo da Vinci, who eventually uses wings to help Danielle, the main character. The main character is also almost always hoping to get out of her present situation and have a resulted happy ending. Typically, it varies on whether or not she's an active character. For example, certain older tales do have her as an active character, while the most famous variation, the Disney fairy tale, on the other hand, does not, where she is basically just completely passive and not doing anything throughout the story. Um, there are always stepsisters, though whether or not they are evil stepsisters and a stepmother varies based on the decision of the storyteller. There is typically a dance or some sort of social gathering, which we see through the masquerade ball. There is also always some sort of test to prove that it is truly the main female character, whether it be a shoe fitting or some other type, most typically a shoe in Western tales. Often there's also a punishment for the villain, whether it be getting your toes cut off or being forced to work in the laundry room. The main motifs of Cinderella are ashes, dirt, and Cinderella being forced into service. And that most typically comes from the belief of a evil stepmother. Ever After was produced in 1998 by Andy Tennant, as previously mentioned. It starred Drew Barrymore as Danielle de Barbarac and Dougray Scott as our Prince Henry. So, in terms of the change between the most typical fairy tale to the movie, the main change occurs in that instead of it having magic, it takes place in a historical setting, um, meaning, and it is in France during the 16th century. So, what part of the tale has changed? Pretty much everything is in the movie except for the magic. He has a fairy godmother type of character with Da Vinci, and he has other helpers in form of the servants. Danielle is placed into servitude by her stepmother when her father unfortunately passes away. Her mother is just sort of missing, which is very typical of Cinderella stories, and she has two evil stepsisters and a evil stepmother. Her and the prince do actually have time to fall in love, which is a change from, say, Disney, but it's not really a change from the traditional fairy tale. They set up the tale in a different way in that it is a story within a story. So at the beginning of the movie, they introduce the Brothers Grimm visiting a descendant of Danielle and Prince Henry. Um, and the descendant, who is a duchess, is basically just saying, the story you are telling in your book is true except without the magic. And she uses the glass slipper as a way to show that there is truth to the famed Cinderella story. So, Ever After overall is a much more feminist um, tale than what Cinderella typically is, especially the better known versions. Um, Danielle is running her home, and she does not let her evil stepmother boss her around nearly as much as other Cinderella type characters do. She is typically the one to take action against the evils, such as going near court and trying to buy back her servant Maurice after he was sold by the Baroness Rodmilla. It is also much more humorous than other variations. They have moments such as Prince Henry very defiantly going against his father and not marrying the Princess of Spain, and constantly complaining about possibly having to marry the Princess of Spain. And you also have the king and queen's marriage, which serves as a sort of contrast to the happiness of Danielle and Henry, showing what could possibly happen. So Ever After makes Cinderella modern, even though it is a historical setting. Danielle becomes a very active character and actively uses her brain, um, as opposed to, say, Perrault's version. She also feels very responsible to her home and makes sure that everyone there is safe and not in danger against her stepmother. She's always the one to take the blame for any event. She defies the values of medieval women, whilst her step family are more of the ideals, in that they are feminine and they dress up and will go to court. While Danielle constantly complains about having to dress up the few moments she does. And that shows the movie's distaste for the medieval ideals of womanhood. Danielle is a rebel, which makes her more appealing towards the modern day audience. And she is the one in charge of the home, showing the power that she wields. Without her father, who passed away when she was very young, she was forced to take control of the manor, so she's actively going against the grain of the time with this. She also has political thoughts, which is very strange. She has read Thomas More's Utopia, which shows that she is very well educated, since that is typically only written in Latin for the time. She also isn't exactly fawning over the royal family like many women of the time would be. Overall, Ever After uses the expectations of the modern day period versus the medieval period to portray the shock and horror of the story Cinderella. They use moments such as the abuse of Danielle and the reaction to the royal family to portray the way that Cinderella changes throughout time, depending on when you said it and how you said the story. Ever After is a excellent example of the story Cinderella due to all of these things. Thank you.